Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here with Rob and Ashley. We got Gateway to talk about in the World 100 and probably some other bullshit. So, folks, how are we doing this week?
Doing well. I feel like a human again. By the way, greetings from beautiful Bella Vista, Arkansas, nestled here in the Ozark Mountains. Absolutely beautiful country up here. I'm at my parents' house and visited them after going into R-rated territory over the weekend in the middle of Ohio, and now I'm here in Disney G-rated country. I'm going to do my best to watch my language in here tonight because I am, again, at my parents' house, and I think they're just on the other side of the wall here, and they don't need to hear what I usually say. So I've set up a little swear jar here next to me, and you guys can add into that every time I say something that's out of pocket, and we'll add the number up at the end of the show, I guess. How you doing, True Love?
Good. I'm just enjoying the little background music that you got going for us.
Oh, yeah.
Evening. It's very soothing.
Uncle Rob's hillbilly porch out here with all the crickets going and the frogs. Yeah, their house backs up to a holler that's just full of little creatures, and there's a creek back there. It's really, really nice.
Yeah. How far are they from the Golden Corral?
That's about a 20-minute drive.
You try to go into town for that one.
Yeah, it's true. When you tried to get me to reveal my shrimp count from last night?
I was curious.
Literally somewhere between 30 and 40 popcorn shrimp.
So proud of you.
Yeah, it was a lot. I don't feel great today.
Now we eat popcorn shrimp. It has this fucking breading.
Yeah, they didn't have the big boys. I was ready for some like butterfly or something like that, but no, we just had the little babies, and that doesn't matter. I loaded my plate up with that and some sweet chili sauce and went to town, and here we are today, and we're going to see how that goes. How much I sweat during this episode.
Well, all right. Well, I guess.
Anyway,
we'll get to the racing as Rob sweats out his shrimps.
He puts one popcorn shrimp into his swear jar every time he says something.
One shrimp comes out of me every time.
Somehow, I have the notes up, and it's adding what I say to the notes, and it just added your Rob sweatshirt. What the hell's going on here? All right.
Yeah, the Apple Notes. Apple Notes is quite it's an incredible tool.
Wow.
If you use
really onto us tonight. Take a screenshot of that.
Yeah, you guys can't see it, but you will. Leave it in there.
This is off to a great start.
ARCA.
On to the actual racing. There wasn't an ARCA race this week, was there?
That's the ARCA news this week, that there was
I was going to say just
no ARCA.
So no race to talk about, but Butterbean, one of the handful of stars in ARCA, is going to be making his debut in the Xfinity Series this weekend at Bristol, driving for Colleague Racing, who believe it's been rumored that's one of the places he'll probably land next year. So this is a nice little test to see how that goes. So
yeah, it's exciting.
Excited to see how that works out for him, because we all like him. So
yeah, I think we're all
good to see.
We're all certified members of Bean Nation, so I'm very excited to see him take a. I don't know if he's taking a step up, but definitely driving in trucks, I think, is where he's going to land. But that's great.
Yeah. Speaking of trucks, there was no trucks to talk about. Nothing happened. There was no race, so nothing there. But the Xfinity Series, that was Saturday. This was finally their playoff cutoff race as far as, the end of the regular season. To no surprise, Connor Zilic not only won the regular season championship, but he also won the race on Sunday for his 9th victory of the year. Still technically 8th, but, he's got 9 in the books. Trying to remember this race, True Love. I mean, I watched it, but I can't think of anything in particular that happened that was noteworthy.
Well, I didn't see it, but I heard that the pre-race concert for the Xfinity race was Lil Jon. So
yeah, I did see a couple clips of that. Yeah, and Little John's a fucking weightlifter now or something.
Is he?
Yeah, I've definitely seen a couple photos of him, like all greased up and whatnot, which is weird. But yeah,
Bigger John.
Yeah, so good for him.
Allgaier was leading early because he was still technically in the regular season points battle with Zilic if Zilic had shit the bed, which he didn't. I think Allgaier ended up shitting the bed somehow.
Yeah.
I feel like he was involved in a wreck or something, but
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Jeff Burton also wrecked, taking himself out of the playoffs. Little Harry B
Harrison-
made it in instead.
Yeah, he wrecked too, though, I believe, didn't he? He spun out or something.
He
at
spun
one
out,
point.
but he didn't wreck. Jeb had a flat tire and wrecked and then caught on fire. So there was also a big one at Gateway with 10 cars involved.
Oh.
I think.
Okay, I do remember
think
that now,
Creed
yeah.
missed a shift and it just kind of caused chaos from there. I think Allgaier was in that one.
I think I gotta stop putting bets on Sheldon at this
Yeah,
point.
well, the one time you don't, that'll be.
Probably. That's
Probably.
why. That's why I keep doing it, to be honest. So
And
maybe
then,
when he's back at a Chevy next year.
Maybe. Almirola was in this race too, driving like an absolute asshole the entire time. So
What did he do? I can't think of.
he was just really driving over his head and being way too aggressive. Just typical Almirola bullshit.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess the last big note is Connor Zilic almost took out a cameraman in his post-race celebration.
I saw that highlight.
He did. And then he tried a new way to celebrate after he won. He climbed out the roof hatch and then slid down the windshield, thinking that would be the safest way. And then he speared himself in the ass with a hood pin and ripped his fire suit open. So.
And then his dad on Twitter, in response to this, posted the infamous Far Side comic of the School for the Gifted, the kid pushing on a door that says pull. So
Classic Far Side cartoon.
That was great.
Yeah, very appropriate for that. He's going to be doing his interviews from inside the car pretty soon, I have a feeling.
He should just live in there.
Yeah, never leave the car.
Also, apparently a NFL meme page with like 1.5 million followers used that clip of Zilic breaking his collarbone in an NFL meme this weekend. So it lives on
I mean, that is
in other sports.
I hate talking about social media, but I think that's probably the biggest viral moment of the NASCAR season. Because when my wife will show me racing clips, that means it's reached a completely different corner of the internet. And she's like, oh my God, did you see this? And it's like, yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. It was fucked up. Oh, there's one for the swear jar.
Uh-oh. One popcorn shrimp?
Yeah. I'm going to keep track
All
here.
my Xfinity notes.
Yeah. Well, I guess that wraps up Saturday. Moving on to Sunday, we had Bill Murray in the house. Why, I don't know.
Busy. Yeah, I don't know why. Apparently his band, he's in a band, and his band played the pre-race concert that day.
Oh, yeah. He's in a band with one of his brothers. They've recently played here at one of the casinos or something. I'm not going to go fucking see that, but...
Great command, though.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his command. Thought he did a great job. Apparently, he also showed up to the drivers' meeting and went around and shook every single driver's hand. And then Bubba tweeted out that Noah Gragson had no idea who Bill Murray was. So.
Which is not really a surprise at all, knowing Noah. So.
Also, I don't know if you all saw, but Jeff Burton did a pre-race interview with Bill Murray that really went off the rails, and Jeff was you could just see the panic in his eyes trying to keep up with wherever Bill was going, because it really went off the rails.
Jeff doesn't strike me as a funny guy. At least not like that anyway. That's incredible.
Let's see, moving on.
Foreshadowing the race.
Gateway Pyrotechnics. Always look forward to those.
Yeah, that is quite the explosion at the beginning of that race.
I guess some firework debris landed on Larson's windshield, and he said that he was scared that it was going to melt his tear-offs. So. Oh,
that's actually that's something.
Affected his vision later in the race.
Nah, I don't know what you're talking about. It's a quiet day, except for the diffuser coming apart. So we're going to talk about Ty Dillon a little bit more.
Yeah, he had a busy day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. The first stage of the race wasn't a whole lot going on, but the Dillons got into each other, and Austin spun Ty around. Very reminiscent of the Brickyard '94. Bodines wrecking each other.
Austin Dillon was also screaming on his radio, "Don't tell me how to drive. This is a piece of shit." So.
Yeah. Well, we all knew that. That came after the first big wreck, though. I think we have to talk about this. Harrison Burton. Who the fuck is it?
Burton.
Oh, there's two. That's the second swear. Hold on. Harrison Burton. Josh Berry is his name. The driver of the Wood Brothers 21. Having his playoffs hopes. Harry Berry getting knocked out of the playoffs by Chase Elliott. True Love, you want to handle this one?
I think Berry knocked himself out of the playoffs last weekend, but...
Well, true, yeah.
Just a racing deal.
Yeah, speaking of racing deals, there's another racing deal with Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson. Rob, you want to handle this one?
Yeah, fuck Ryan Blaney, who cares? Damn it, that's true.
It's just funny how anytime that happens, Larson's just like, it was an accident. It's always an accident with him. It's very funny how that works out.
Yeah, but I don't know why he would do that on purpose. I just think he thinks he can do something and it doesn't work out. I mean, Ryan seemed to handle it pretty well. I was expecting...
Well, because he ended up getting the top 5 out of it.
That's true.
Larson was 12th or 13th, whatever the fuck he was. So,
yeah, well, I would say the racing gods kind of got him back with his diffuser flat popping down and having to come back down pit road. They never really fully recovered from that because they were one of the faster cars on the racetrack.
For the early part of the race, yeah. I feel like this was a race, though. I mean, if you look what happened with Bubba, Bubba was once again checked out, and once he had that bad restart where he couldn't get his car out of gear, and he got mired back in the pack, like you didn't see him back up front the rest of the day. So another race where there was passing and whatnot, but at the same time, it definitely seemed like air was affecting the faster cars, and if you didn't have clean air, then you couldn't really get out there.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff after those 4-wide restarts. Once they got strung out, it was kind of what it was.
Yeah.
We had another incident where a car had a loose wheel and stopped in another driver's pit box to get it tightened.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who that was.
Reddick stopped in Hamlin's box.
That's it, yeah.
Always those
which really led. Yeah, well, hey, Toyota, they're helping each other out. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
But it also did lead to a few real DARFs calling for penalties and more punishment for this type of deal. And it's like, well, one, if we didn't have single lug cars, this wouldn't be a real issue. Two, if you let a car out on the track with a loose wheel, it's going to cause a caution and people get suspended and all this other bullshit.
Yeah.
And three, you're already getting penalized twice, like once unofficially by having to stop at somebody else's pit box, and two, you got to start at the end of the longest line. So
I think
you are getting penalized for this.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Yeah, in a very fair way. So Yeah, no, there doesn't need to be anything else done about this.
No,
let
not at all.
cars, let them do this, and it's fine. So
I would say the Toyota thing is interesting, only because they got busted for manipulating their pit guns back in the day. I forget what year that was. It was early playoffs era. They were doing something with the air hoses and all that, and just how high those guns would spin. So I wonder if they're playing with something, or if it's just the way they decide to, the way they choreograph their pit stops, if that has something to do with the fact that they're not getting these wheels tight. But it's interesting that it's only been Toyota so far that's been able to do this. Maybe they just work together better. I don't know.
I feel like it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily. I would say maybe the pit stop sequence, because I know, for instance, like Hamlin and Bubba earlier this year, like they were talked about a lot because their pit stops or pit crews were doing different choreography than everybody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe there is something to that. But yeah, I mean, I also just think, the Toyota teams, especially, it seems like it's been, the Gibbs and the 2311 cars are the ones having the problem. So, they already have communication as it is. So
yeah, it's just interesting. It seems to be an organizational thing, not in the planning of the pit stops, though maybe it is, but just the fact that it's Gibbs and the two king shit Toyota teams. God, there's another one. I'm gonna be out of shrimp pretty soon. Is this how I always sound? That's 5 shrimp, folks.
But yeah, this was another day where Toyota, was the dominant car, even though, everybody came in saying this will be a Penske day. And, for a time, Logano was up there and, Blaney was up there too. But, obviously the other two Penske cars didn't do anything. And really the rest of the Fords were kind of non-existent. Hendrick did not have a good day.
No, not at all.
This was a big.
Third, so.
That's true.
Hey, did he? Okay, well, he's the only
true.
one. Yeah, I mean, other than Bell having issues with his pit crew, which he was vocally pissed off on the radio about that, because, he should have been, even though he got a 7th place finish out of it, he should have been up top of the pack for sure.
Christopher Bell definitely putting a shrimp in the jar for for what he said. I guess we can just do the DARF for the week right now, because it's directly related to that. Of course, I don't know if the listeners have heard this clip, but I know we all have, of Christopher Bell's team after the race congratulating him on a good day, saying, "Oh, that's what we need to do," and he just blows up on the radio and it's like, "That's bullshit. No, it's not. Blah blah blah." We finished 7th with the fastest car on the racetrack, and hear Christopher Bell swear all that much.
Yeah,
that's a rarity. So, like, boy, those pleats were definitely.
Those shrimp are popping.
Yeah, those shrimp are popping. And our DARF for the week comes from that particular post. I believe it was on Twitter. And a guy named Sean Richardson says, in response to this, "Behavior like this needs to stop." Which...
What the fuck up yourself? What are you talking about?
Shut up. Shut up.
I can't imagine how he'd react to the Kurt Busch's greatest radio hits.
Yeah, seriously.
If that upset you, then good Lord, man, don't look backwards at all.
Don't listen to Ryan Blaney's radio.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's also the type to complain that drivers don't have any personality too. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, Sean Richardson, you're my DARF for the week. You get to listen to the Kurt Busch greatest hits tape as your punishment.
Denny Hamlin won from the pole, which was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, especially seeing how fast Briscoe was and a handful of the other people. But Denny was just able to keep his car up front pretty much all day, which, him and his team are very good at that. And it's why he's had as much success as he's had throughout his career. So, and he had a fun little post-race interview, but also as he was coming to the green, everybody's TV feed cut out, which even Stacy was watching too. She's like, "Did your TV just blip out?" I'm like, "Yep."
I missed the finish of the race because my plane landed, and then I had to turn my phone off and go get off the plane. But I guess I missed the finish just like everybody else did, so I don't feel like I missed that so much.
Of course, the conspiracies start flying, so
Yeah, of course.
it's always fun.
It is pretty suspect, but I don't think they cut the cables there. Gateway is notorious for having IT and power issues, so I think it's just more of the same.
Yeah.
That's true.
And it wasn't like
Okay.
there was a last lap pass happening. He had the lead. He just, he missed 3 seconds of him crossing the line. So,
Yeah.
I think my favorite part of the day was after the race, Blaney just gave his interview very calmly, saying that he'll remember that move
Yeah.
that Larson did later on. And then he walks away and he's walking down pit road, and one of Chastain's crew guys chucks a Uncrustable at him, and he catches it one-handed and starts snacking on it.
Who says drivers don't have personalities?
what is
Move of
this?
the race?
What is this post-race lawn care note?
So after the
Yeah.
race, apparently SVG, Chastain, and
Oh,
Logano
yes.
Trackhouse cars, yeah.
yeah. Okay.
and Logano
Oh, I
were
didn't know that.
driving through the grass after the race. And Bowman had a fun little radio clip where I guess he was behind the Trackhouse guys, and on the radio he goes, "Hey, Trackhouse cars are driving through the grass. That's kind of cool."
I guess the theory is that they're trying to pick up a little bit of extra weight for the scales, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, driving through marbles and stuff makes sense, but grass, not as much. I don't know what you're going to pick up there, so I don't know.
Apparently enough for
Beats me, and nothing really came out about it, like, afterwards. Like, there was no penalties announced or anything, so I don't...
Yeah, not yet anyway. I guess that we would have heard by now. I know NASCAR was going to have a sit down with them to talk about respecting the lawn care at the racetracks they go to, but I think that's about as far as it went.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Gateway. It was a decent weekend, and we're off to Bristol this weekend, so
Yes.
we'll have plenty more to say about that at some point.
One last thing, thinking about Hamlin's dad, because he definitely got emotional in his post-race interview saying that his dad's not doing well. So I know he was a beloved character on
Yeah.
the NASCAR Netflix
Yes.
documentary. So,
Pretty much the only reason to watch that series is Denny Hamlin's dad.
yep.
Cool. So moving on to news and notes. Let's see. The Haas factory team is switching back to Chevy in 2026 with affiliation with Hendrick. Cole Custer Fashion Show. What, did I miss that? What?
So I didn't have enough stuff this week to put together Meemaw soaps, but I did want to shout out the fact that Cole Custer participated in a fashion show this week and strutted his stuff on a runway, showing off some Neiman Marcus duds and some Dolce & Gabbana. So,
No.
I mean,
Of all the drivers in the field, Cole Custer would be very low on my list of guys to have model.
Yeah, he's in the
myself.
bottom third, respectfully.
he struck a couple poses. He did like the crossed arms and the serious face, and then he did like the finger pointing pose. So
Jesus, I can't wait to see this.
really getting into it. Yeah, that's my Cole Custer. Yeah, go to Chevy.
Yeah, that's not, I guess, too much of a surprise now that Tony Stewart's gone.
Yeah.
Because he was the one who spearheaded the whole Ford deal, so I suppose this makes sense, and we'll see if that's Hendrick Alliance gets him a few tenths. Probably not, but we'll see.
Well, maybe that leather moto jacket that he was modeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jordan Bianchi on Door Bumper Clear this week heavily insinuated that the playoff format for next year is going to be 3, 3, and 4 as far as the 3 different rounds of the playoffs, which I still don't love it, but it's better than a one-race shootout.
Yeah.
So at least it's moving in the right direction. But also, I think it was brought up. It was brought up today on Twitter. A lot of ratings talk has been brought up the last few weeks because ratings for the last 2 races have gone down about 25%. Which, there's many reasons for that, but year over year, I mean, yeah, obviously football and college sports and stuff, that's going to cut into it, but 25% is a big decrease year over year when the same shit was happening last year. And the point was brought up that IndyCar's ratings for their season finale, which was this past weekend, or was it last weekend? Last weekend,
yeah.
Were up, even though, the championship hadn't been decided for 3-4 races or whatever.
Exactly.
So, that's another clear indication that these playoffs, they're not ratings grabbers. I mean, maybe at one point they were, and the TV thinks that they are, but they're not. And
I mean, no matter what, that race went up against the opening weekend of the NFL, and most people who are NFL fans and NASCAR fans are going to default to watching the National Football League over NASCAR, especially at a race like Gateway, respectfully. So I don't know. I tend to think this is less about the playoffs and more about just what you're up against. But what can really be done to get out of the way of the NFL other than running at like 10 a.m. on a Sunday? I don't really think there's much they can do based on what they're going up against. And you have Kevin Harvick talking about he's questioning Saturday night racing because the ratings are worse. I guess we'll see after Bristol. We can actually compare this, so write this down so we can talk about it next week because I'm curious to see where those numbers land.
I think Daytona was down this year too.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I get his points. As an old that doesn't go out and party on Saturdays anymore, I don't give a fuck if the race is on Saturday. I'm going to watch it. But, I understand where he's coming from. And leaving out the fact that, granted, this time of year there aren't as many short track races on Saturdays, but, that was back in the day when more Saturday races started popping up, how that was going to affect local short track attendance. So now we're in a day and age, though, that pretty much any race you want to watch can be viewed somewhere. So maybe that's a little less of a factor these days.
And I don't think NASCAR really gives much of a shit about local short track racing anyway, or other series. So, I mean,
no, they clearly don't.
Yeah.
They do not.
But to go back to the playoff thing, I'm actually, again, I'm kind of with you. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but I prefer it to what happens now. I think it's a much more fair way to do it if this ends up being the system. But I think this almost certainly will include Talladega in that final round, which I have a major problem with for reasons I've yelled about for the past 3 years since we started doing this show. So I don't need to go into that. But that's the big sort of bullet point of why I'm not a fan of this would be Talladega's inclusion in such an important round, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I think I'm more curious now as to will they keep the win and you're in stipulation, because I think that to me is worse than the one race shootout for the championship, just because it creates this discourse of should this guy be in the playoffs just because he won a race? And, you have SVG, who's still a rookie, but he's also a road course ringer, and he's won all these races. And, clearly his lack of skills on the ovals is showing now. Yeah. So, I'm curious, if they go to 3-3-4, totally great with that, but will they change that rule? Because that, to me, I think is a bigger factor. So, we'll see. Let's see, moving on. GMS Racing bought all 16 SRX cars for some reason.
What's left
I don't
of them?
know. I don't understand.
That there were 16 cars left to buy. So
that's all that they built was 16.
I think they always had 1 or 2 extras, because there were definitely a couple times I remember seeing somebody wrecked out, and here they are in some other fucking car.
Yeah, there were backup cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't buy any branding or the trademark, just junk cars. So.
Yeah.
See how that works.
I don't know.
Cool. GMS School of Racing coming to Mansfield near you.
I guess we'll see. Let's see this next note. No, wait, no, that's the next note. We're not there yet. So Mike Skinner posted or retweeted a photo of him, the number 5 truck he was in, like a race-winning truck, like Mike Skinner won X race 20 years ago, and he retweeted it with a line that was, I'll paraphrase it, but it was like, yeah, this was my car, not Dale's, or something, something to that effect. Something that seemed very like subtweeting Carson Hocevar. Although I feel like, yeah, he probably is still pissed about that he doesn't get the recognition on Hocevar's truck, that it was a Hocevar, that it was a Mike Skinner truck.
I thought it was in response to the little photo shoot that Carson did with that Dale car that he bought, the actual Dale car, and then the truck he has. No, you didn't buy
Dale car. You mean the Gray Ghost repop.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he filmed that shit at Whistling Diesel's house, which that guy fucking sucks. So
I don't know who that is.
You don't want to know. Trust me. Okay, so a brief rundown. Whistling Diesel was this dickhead YouTuber kid from Tennessee that he became famous like 4 or 5 years ago because he would do these videos where he'd basically just blow up vehicles and just destroy. He'd buy a bunch of old Hiluxes and crash test them, and he burnt a Ferrari in a cornfield, and now he's become a red-pilled Andrew Tate type guy, and he's just posting about his Russian girlfriend and shit all the time, so he sucks. So the fact that he's doing anything with Hocevar bums me out, but also in the video, yeah, that's fine.
Who's Jebediah Hoskins?
Yeah, what the hell is this about? I don't know what
This is very random, but friend and favorite of the program, Andy Newsom, went to a wrestling match over the weekend. And
yes, I remember this. Yes, I saw this myself, and I was psyched on it. Yep.
He posted an amazing picture of a shirt that he bought at this wrestling match of a guy named Jebediah Hoskins, a.k.a. the Amish Outlaw.
Oh, yeah.
The shirt that he was selling is clearly AI, but it's like a Dale Earnhardt-themed horse-drawn carriage with, all things Amish, and it was amazing. So
yeah, that is one of the
few for sharing that with the world.
That is one of the few things I saw on my phone at Eldora, because it didn't work the whole time, but somehow I was able to be blessed enough to see that shirt, and it is killer.
As the wrestling guy on the show, I don't know who the hell this guy is. I've never, whatever small little fed that he works for, I've never seen him before, but he did come out to the ring holding a chicken, like a live chicken. So that was pretty cool.
That's great.
This was a nice little note that I picked up. Somebody on Twitter got a Panini NASCAR card. They have those race use insert cards in a lot of these packs, and the one that he got was a souvenir swatches featuring Richard Childress.
Yeah.
And in the corner of the fucking card is just a little white piece of fabric, and he was really pissed off about that.
One of his puffy vests or his starched Chevrolet shirts.
Yeah. But if you want that card yourself for whatever reason, you can get it on eBay for $3 whole, so it's not really going to break the bank if you want some pop sweated on fucking clothing items.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait to whatever cologne the Bass Pro Shop sells. Yeah, I can't wait for that to arrive at my house, because I plan on owning a little piece of pop. So
did you buy it?
I haven't yet, but I think I'm going to. I would love to have that down in the bar. Yeah.
Trade in all your popcorn shrimp at the end of the night.
Exactly.
This is a fun little piece of racing-related news. There was a guy in the Czech Republic that, for 6 years, would randomly drive up and down the highways in a full-on Formula One car. He'd have a helmet and fire suit on and everything, and for 6 years they couldn't catch him, and they finally got him. So, whoever that guy is, you are a legend, and hopefully you don't get locked up for too long, because that's pretty cool. So I got nothing bad to say about that, even though I'm not an F1 guy.
Yeah, every single comment says "free my boy." He didn't do anything wrong, which I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get to the sad part of this segment, what is this Mike Harmon AI song? 'Cause I did not hear that.
So a friend of the program, Kyle Armstrong, sent this to both True Love and I, and it comes from a Stapleton 42 video, and this video is kind of cool. It's him putting together a car that I forget exactly. I didn't watch the whole video, so I forget exactly what it is. It's a cup car, right?
I didn't watch the video either because Kyle told me the timestamp, and I was like, I'm not sitting through an hour of this to get to it. So
yeah, but if you're familiar with Stapleton's work, it's essentially that. It's him working on a race car, and it looks pretty cool. I respect that guy. I like his work, and it's probably worth a watch, to be honest with you. But at the end of the video, as the credits are starting to roll in, he plays an AI song about Mike Harmon. And of course, pop country is one of the popular genres you can pull out of AI because it's all cookie cutter to begin with, and half that stuff's AI to begin with. And this is, it's the feel good hit of the summer, isn't it, True Love? I just.
Really, everyone just needs to go listen to it for themselves. Because I was like, it'll be like a fun little quick thing, but it was a full-blown, very detailed song that just kept going and kept going. And every mention of Applebee's was pure gold.
It starts off and you're kind of like, this is going to suck. It's just AI talking about a generic race car driver. But then it gets very specific very quickly. Yeah, Kyle suggested this might be the new theme song for the show, and after listening to it, I think I tend to agree. So even if what is AI going to sue us for stealing it? Fuck them.
If anyone, everyone should go listen to it. So the name of the video is the Kyle Stapleton video, and it's called "I Crashed My Vintage NASCAR Car, Cut It in Half, and Rebuilt It." And the song starts at the hour 5-minute mark, right after haggard Jeremy Mayfield finishes talking. So
yeah. But yeah, I look forward to going back and watching that whole thing. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I guess as Brian alluded to earlier, there is some sad news this week. A lot of legends passing or shedding this mortal coil, if you will.
I would say probably the most notable would be Bill Davis. He was in his 70s, gave opportunities to Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon early in their careers. And, lots of other drivers won the Daytona 500 with Ward Burton, who I don't think Ward has the greatest relation. Like, Ward didn't have a great time at Bill Davis Racing, at least towards the end, and I feel like I heard a few stories about that over the years where he wasn't. I know there was that controversy with Toyota that kind of ended his team for the most part. But still, he did a lot of legendary things, and along with him, Phil Barkdoll, who for a lot, I remember him is entering the Daytona 500 in the early 90s as an independent car, and I remember seeing his car in the toy aisle quite a bit because nobody was buying it. But I know he'd race ARCA and like Winston West and stuff. I think he was a West Coast guy. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. But
he was.
So he also passed. I believe he was in his 80s or maybe even 90s. He was up there. He was an old guy, 30 years ago. And then Dan RUNTE, who he was arguably Bigfoot's greatest driver. He'd been with the Bigfoot organization from 1989 up until his death. He did a lot of really cool stuff. Won a lot of titles. Did a lot of. He set and broke his own long distance monster truck jumping records. Was just a really well-liked guy. He's one of those guys that when he passed, you could not find a negative thing said about him from anybody, both fans and people within the monster truck industry. And he was killed in a motorcycle accident. He had just retired from driving, but he was still with Bigfoot, working at the shop and, teaching younger drivers and stuff like that. So big loss within that community. And The video of the week ties into that. Let's just say that. So we'll get to that later. But
just some clarification on Phil BARKDOLL. He actually wasn't a California guy. I think I was getting him mixed up with somebody else. He's from Iowa. And he was a part-timer in the Cup Series for many years. And like you said, fiercely independent. Never had worked with a big team. Never was a big team. But just worked hard to be part of the show. So I raised my beer to that one.
This is also the part of the notes where I started doing the talk to text.
Yeah, of all of the notes to tack it onto. Well, all right. Well, I guess we'll kind of get the racing in as Rob sweats out his shrimp. That's what it says. R.I.P.
Yep. So now, since we already got the DAR for the week out of the way, it's time to dive into the septic tank. And this is all you, Rob, because unfortunately, as you all heard on the show last week, I was pretty sick, and I'm still a little sick, but was too sick to go to the race on Saturday, unfortunately. So, Rob, this is all you.
Yeah, it's a damn shame because it was a great time. We definitely missed you out there at the Big E. I woke up at, what time was it? 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday to get up in time and make sure I packed everything I needed to, which I didn't.
Hold on. You woke up at 2 in the morning, and what the hell time did you go to bed?
Yeah. Why did you even go to bed?
3. Well, I went to bed early. I actually had to watch the features on the plane from the night before. So I did get a full night's sleep because I knew that Friday, I only had 2 days. I couldn't get there on Thursday, which, by the way, Jonathan Davenport and Dale McDowell picking up feature wins on night one.
The Thursday race, McDowell had a killer last lap pass. Holy shit.
Yeah, it was incredible.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and Dale, we've talked about it on the show before, and he's never really in the conversation as being one of the guys to do it. It's always Jonathan Davenport, Bobby Pierce. RTJ's name gets thrown in there a lot, even though his record at Eldora hasn't been all that great up until this weekend, which we'll get to much later. But Dale he just knows how to drive Eldora. He just rips the bottom and is just super consistent. That car has a lot of bite off the bottom, and he's able to pull some incredible moves and stay in the race the entire time, and that's what he did on Thursday night. And there was plenty more to that to come, but like I said, there's a few miles between there and here. I woke up at 2 in the morning. Was on the highway at about 2:45, 3. Got to Logan Airport at 4 for my 5 a.m. flight. So you can see how this is already going. Of course, my flight in Chicago got delayed by about 5 hours, which was fucking cool. I love that. There's another one for the swear jar, but but I think that's a free pass because everyone hates getting delayed. Even my parents in the next room can agree with that one. I just sat around and watched planes and got stressed out by how tight and small O'Hare is. I don't know if you guys have been there, the Home Alone Airport. It's very small, despite being one of the largest airports in the U.S. Anyway, finally made it to Dayton, got the rental car, and hauled ass up to Eldora. I got there at about probably right at 4 o'clock on the dot. Got my pit pass and immediately started trying to track people down. At this point, my phone still kind of worked. This is a recurring theme throughout the weekend. Is just Eldora, if you're a T-Mobile customer, is an absolute dead zone. Like, your phones just don't work. The good news is that there's track Wi-Fi that works in most of the grandstands, and it kind of runs out right at the edge of the overhang on the front stretch. And of course, I'm sitting down at the bottom of turn 1, so as soon as you get down there, your phone just goes away again, and you're off the grid completely. As you guys know, like, the biggest challenge of camping at a racetrack is keeping your phone charged. Yeah. Which I would say we had about a C- rating for that this whole weekend. But again, it wasn't working anyway, so who really cares? Anyway, first stop on the tour was to head down to the pits and go say hi to friend of the program, Kyle Armstrong. Of course, he's working for Simpson. He drives that big trailer all around the country selling helmets and Hans devices, all that. You've heard the spiel on the show before. They should be giving us money for how much I've talked about Simpson helmets and race products on this show. Use the code meetmeatapplebees for 0% off at checkout. But I went down to and said hi to Kyle, and honestly, I didn't get to chat with him really very much because he said this is the busiest he's ever been at the racetrack. And Kyle has not missed a World 100 since, mid-2000s, something like that. So I can't imagine what that must have been like to be at the same place you go every single year, but now you're on the clock. You're not really getting to see much of anything. You're just selling hoodies and recertifying Hans devices and helmets and taking orders, and every fucking B-mod racer in the country is coming up to ask you questions about helmets and all that. And I stood there for about half an hour just waiting for an opening to say what's up, and it just never ended. And I got to hand it to him, man. Like that, I would have been on full tilt if I were in his shoes, being at one of my favorite places in the world and not being able to really experience it in the way that we're all used to. So shout out to Kyle. I know that must have been some long days, and I eventually did get to hang out with him a little bit, but shout out to the working man out there, keeping all the drivers safe and selling fire suits to people with legs that are too short. That was one conversation I overheard. Somebody trying to find a fire suit that was short enough for him. But anyway,
taller socks.
Exactly. Anyway, after that.
Well, speaking of that, since you were watching the broadcast, they had Devin Moran's wife. They had her, I think, in a fire suit or something.
Yeah,
maybe
Miss
she did a
Eldora,
ride around with somebody. Yeah, and she had to get somebody else's fire suit because she was too tall for her husband's. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Randy Weaver was given 2-seater rides, and Miss Eldora herself got a ride, and she couldn't use her husband's fire suit because his little legs just too short. So you can't go out there in capris. It's way too dangerous. By the way, Randy Weaver almost wrecking the 2-seater at some point on the bump in turn 3. So that would have been the ride of a lifetime, and the true Eldora experience, knocking the deck out of a race car. After that, I did get to check out the new Love Tunnel sign, which disappointed me greatly. It is a piece of fucking vinyl or whatever, and that was a disappointment. Yeah, the tunnel's still the same, but that sign just pisses me off. Just paint it, Tony. By the way, Tony Stewart on the property all weekend. In charge of track prep, drifting around on a four-wheeler.
Great clips of him hauling ass on that four-wheeler.
In his little shorts, just having a good time. And pretty good racetrack for most of the weekend, I got to say that, even though they had to deal with some weather going into it. But anyway, after I went and saw Kyle and threw up into my hat at the side of the Love Tunnel sign, I decided to go up and meet up with the boys in our seats. Shout out to sweet William Crabtree, who's been mentioned on this show before. Of course, you remember him from our previous World 100 special, where he told Brian that out of anybody here, he'd like to be in prison with him the most. just a little sample of Crabtree right there. But he was kind enough to him and James Honeycutt and Ashley. They were kind enough to save us some seats, and this year the demand.
Not me, different Ashley.
Not you, yeah.
Not on the premises.
Yeah, so how the seating on the hillside works which is where we were last year up in turn 1, and of course that stretches all the way around into turn 2. It's just kind of a land rush on, I believe, Wednesday. They opened the gates and everyone just kind of Black Fridays their way into the racetrack. And they added an additional gate, which you'd think would help things, but unfortunately stuff just fills up that much quicker. And James was trying to spearhead getting the seats in the spot, but unfortunately people got to where we were going to go first, and it just filled up. And fortunately Crabtree came in and saved the day and said, hey, you guys come down here and sit with me. I got space up front, and so they set the lawn chairs up. And again, shout out to James and Crabtree for getting there early and giving us a place to sit for the weekend, because that was a lifesaver. And honestly, where we were, probably the best seats in the house as far as I'm concerned. You can see literally everything. You can see better from where we sat last year, which was incredible. Turn 1 at racetracks, man. It's a magical place. But about that point, everyone started rolling up. We're getting settled in. We go get our tray of toilet waters, because this is the busiest I've ever seen Eldora. There's no question about that. So everyone's kind of stocking up for the night. We all get our toilet waters together. Kim Bob.
They should sell them in like a big long trough, and everyone gets a straw that they stick in. That's my suggestion.
Actually a pretty good idea. I'm sure there's enough disease that gets spread around that place, so they probably don't want to do that. But yeah, we settled in for a pretty badass night of racing, and of course, Friday night. Nobody has anything to do the next day but be at Eldora, so that ends up being the party night. And it's sort of decided amongst all of us that, yeah, we're definitely going for it tonight. And at one point, Ken Bob leaned over to me and was like, man, I wonder how many people's evenings we're ruining right now. Because just the fuck Bobby Pierce chants we would try and get going, screaming on our friends up on the hill. Of course, a tradition of ours, when we sit behind Sweet William, most years, is screaming his name because they're painted on the back of his chairs that he sets up. And that's actually how they met Crabtree, was just by screaming, Crabtree! Crabtree! And it eventually became friends. So this year, since we were sitting with them, yeah. So this year,
make friends as adults.
Usually we, yeah, I know, but usually we're sitting up with this guy Donnie Ratcliffe, and but he was way up on the hill. And we weren't able to sit with him. So this year we just turned it around back on him. We were screaming Ratcliffe all night up the hill, amongst other things. And yeah, I'm sure people weren't thrilled with that. But
so many popcorn shrimp in the swear jar.
Yeah, it would have been. We could have opened our own Golden Corral after that. There's no question about it. But great racing on Friday night. Of course, we got to see a repeat of the features from the night before with Jonathan Davenport and Dale McDowell picking up the top spots in each of those. Great racing on both of them. Also, shout out to our buddy Justin Olmstead. He was on the property, but we never really saw him. I think he was just on a solo mission all weekend, and he would just kind of like materialize next to us. Like the A-main's about to kick off, and he just shows up. Hey, Rob, how's it going? And it's like, where the hell did you come from? And he's got the biggest tenderloin sandwich I've ever seen in my life. Because you know them hammered tenderloin sandwiches they have out Midwest. It looks like it's like a fucking hubcap, you know. So yeah, we got into the liquor a little bit, and yeah, it was great racing, good times. No real highlights to speak of, I think, from the party front at this point. Just enjoying some dirt late model racing. Also, shout out to Bailey Curry, of course, NASCAR Truck Series driver, making his debut for Nice Motorsports. Just showing us how tough it is to transition to dirt racing. That kid had a rough weekend. There's no question about that. Yeah, but he tried. Also on Friday night, of course, friend of the program, Alex Hammett, and his lovely girlfriend, Jordy. Of course, we all hung out at the Chili Bowl. We're good friends now. We keep in touch. We chat every day. It became known to me that Jordy's parents were going to be coming to Eldora, which great. And so I kind of jokingly said, not expecting them to actually want to meet me because, who the hell am I? But it's like, yeah, tell your mom I'm coming to Eldora. Have mom and dad come say what's up to me. Thinking it wouldn't happen. I guess they rode their motorcycles up from Tulsa to go to the race, which is super sweet. I hope when I'm retired, that's the kind of stuff I do with my wife. But I guarantee you, riding a motorcycle to Eldora is not going to happen. Yeah, so that's going to go in the wishful thinking pile, but. Anyway, so it became known where I was. I was texting them photos when my phone would actually work. And then within 5 minutes of sending my location out to Jordy, an older version of Jordy just appears. And of course, it's her mom. And we sit there and we have us a chat and like, oh, this is so awesome. Like, I can't believe it's her first time there, first time at Eldora. And they've been to plenty of dirt late model races in their time, but definitely the first time at the Big E. As soon as she pops up, the Flow Racing drone drops down right in front of us, like the crowd shot drone. And it just hovers there for 5 minutes. And you were acting a fool. Not so much us. I'm just talking to her and trying to be like a normal adult while the rest of my friends are acting like idiots on TV. And I'm trying to, walk the fence and do both at the same time. Which I think it went pretty well. But anyway, we did make the broadcast. Unfortunately, they put timing and scoring over the two of us, so we'll post the photo to the Instagram. But there's a shot of me leaning into the timing and scoring pylon looks like I'm trying to hide from it, as True Love put it. So maybe we didn't make television. So next year, Jordy will
protection program.
Exactly. So next year, Jordy, we'll make it on TV together at the Chili Bowl. It'll happen. We got to get everybody some television time. But that was really sweet. After the races wrapped up, it was a madhouse getting out of there. But of course, last year's entertainment has returned for a 2-night stand this time. Of course, that's the Dukes of Country, Ohio's premier Dukes of Hazzard themed country cover band. And they pretty much played the same set they did last time, which I'm assuming was the same set they played the night before, because they played Thursday as well. We had a good time. A lot of good folks rolled through. Shout out to Blake Harris, not the crew chief because he was busy in Gateway. But my favorite Blake Harris.
Not the one that I drunkenly harassed.
No, not him.
Talladega and thought that it was your Blake Harris.
No, this one's mine. Great photographer. He travels with oftentimes he's with the Cup Series taking photos. He's worked with the Cars Tour. Excellent photographer and just a stand-up dude. And got to see him for about 30 seconds. We drank some liquor together and off into the night. That's when Kyle got to get off from work and come out and cut loose a little bit. I think we had a beer together, and that was about it. And then it was off to the hotel for him. So, again, kind of sad to not get to spend much time with Kyle, since he is the guy who spearheaded me being able to do this every year and kind of got me infected with the Eldora bug, where this is something I have to do for the rest of my life. But, again, good to hang out with him in a non-work setting for just a second. And hopefully he had a good time hanging out and watching Bellamy Brothers covers with me, because I definitely had a good time. And then about this time, now friend of the program, and I've mentioned him before, Ricky LeDuc, of course, incredible drummer and member of Myron Elkin's band, was on the property with his family. And he started hitting me up and was like, hey, where are you at? Let's link up. And so he came over and we had a couple beers and we talked R&B music and country music and basically figured out all the world's problems together while we're watching Dukes of Country. And then the night after that kind of split off and ended up hanging out with Ricky up until about 3 in the morning, which put me well over the 24-hour mark. We were walking back. He invited me back to the RV, which his whole crew, super sweet people, had a great time chilling with them. Can't remember a single name right now, so my apologies, but it was a good time hanging with all those folks. And then, of course, my buddy Justin was with us for a second, and then he decided to split off and go hang out with Ratcliffe for a little bit. And yeah, that was pretty much Friday night. We did cap off the night by walking into the racetrack. We couldn't find a fucking party to go to anywhere. It was just dead silent in the campgrounds. I guess the party was over at Speedy's, which is where Justin eventually ended up, so we probably should have stuck with him.
Is that where you went last year?
No, I never made it over to Speedy's. That's across the street, and it's quite a hike. And if you don't have a golf cart and you're 3 sheets to the wind, it seems a lot farther than it actually is. But Justin went over there and apparently was drinking with Gordy Gundaker, who I was really looking forward to saying what's up to and saying some bad words to, which is such a tradition. But unfortunately, I never got the chance. So me and Ricky just went and stood at the top of turn 3 and had a couple beers and just looked at the racetrack. They had turned the lights off, so it was completely dark in there. We just kind of sat there and talked about life and whatever in front of the silent racetrack, which that's
what went over there and tore that fucking vinyl.
Yeah, no kidding. They might have security on that thing, because I'm sure we're not the first people to think of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Friday night. After that, I walked back to my rental car, which I parked in the media lot, which I probably shouldn't have done. I was the only car left in there at that point, pretty much. But I was like, I'm media, obviously not serious about that. But I do have a podcast. Yeah. It's called Meet Applebees. You guys can check it out on Spotify or Apple Music. But yeah, I climbed in the back of the car in my little sleeping bag and woke up about 4 hours later to a couple texts from Kim Bob saying it's breakfast time. We're going to the St. Henry nightclub. Not sure how these texts got through, because again, my phone just, even when the track is empty, it just does not work out there. And I'm like, all right, I could use some breakfast. And of course, St. Henry nightclub it's a legendary bar. About 15 minutes north of the racetrack. There's been a lot of like meet and greets and Q&As, and that's sort of like the racers bar that everybody would go to after shit wrapped up. And it's kind of the spot that's been there for decades.
Is it a strip club?
It's not a strip club, but it kind of feels like when you go in, because there's the 2 doors. But they have a breakfast buffet on race mornings.
Well,
Yeah.
You said, breakfast and nightclub
No, it's
or
not.
whatever it's called.
No, not legs and eggs, and the legs you'd see in there is probably not something you want to pay for. And so I get in the car, and I'm like, well, my phone doesn't work here, but surely when I get on the road, it'll pick up. I know it's north, so I'm going to make a right out of the racetrack. We'll go north. And my GPS never picks up. My phone doesn't turn on. I'm just in Ohio now. Like, hungover, just like, I don't know exactly where I'm going. But a couple years ago, this place got brought up to me, and I looked it up on a map, like on Google Maps, just to see where it was. And I remembered it was about however many miles north, like 7 miles, and then you make a left turn, and it's there.
You printed out your MapQuest directions.
I probably should have. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, all these towns look the same. All of them have a main street of some kind, and I bet you that's the street I'm supposed to turn on. And so I finally get to St. Henry. I see South Main Street, and there's a stoplight, and I was like, I bet you this is it. And I turn left, and sure enough, there's a St. Henry nightclub right there.
Wow.
And I managed to beat almost everybody there. Yeah, I'm very proud of myself for that. Yeah, I can make my way through gridded farm roads in Ohio and not get lost. But I show up, and I beat a couple of people there, but Kim Bob was already waiting in there. A couple other folks, of course. Crabtree showed up, and James and Ashley, and we had us a nice breakfast, $10 breakfast buffet. It's pretty good, nothing remarkable, but sitting in this little bar, definitely a place I'd love to go back to. The entire place is just covered in racing memorabilia. All the tables have the Eldora logo on them. It's very clear this place is integral to the history of what goes on in Darke County and at Eldora. So I'd love to go back when the sun isn't fully up at some point. But had us a nice breakfast. Again, probably ruined some breakfast for people because, you get us in Crabtree going, and, it's not exactly G-rated breakfast material conversation happening.
I'm looking at pictures of this place. It looks pretty cool.
It is awesome.
My vibe.
Yeah, it definitely is. And there's not much going on out there. There's not many places to go. So this is kind of the place to go unless you're going to Whistle Stop or Sure Shot a little further up the road. But yeah, definitely worth a visit. And again, that place drips with history. And it's been a home to racers and race fans for a very long time. So it's definitely cool to step foot in there and enjoy the breakfast buffet. I will definitely be back next year, especially now that I know exactly where it's at. It won't be quite the anxiety attack in the morning trying to find it. And after that, it was just back to Eldora. And
one picture of food on here is just a burnt mess of a slice of pizza with like a dollop of ranch or something right in the middle of it. Sorry, but
I mean that pretty much sums it up. The biscuits and gravy were pretty good. I'll give them that. But after that, we make it back to the racetrack. So it had been decided the night before that we had completely erased the jar of liquor we had. And as soon as we pull into the camper, Kim Bob beat me back by a couple minutes, and he comes out and he's like, "Hey Rob, there's still a little shine left. Do you want it?" And so that was just the beginning of the rest of my day right there. We circled the wagons at camp and finished that off and sat out and drank beers and listened to music. Just typical racetrack stuff. It was fun. Nothing remarkable to report there. Although Kim Bob and I have a new business venture called Lifestyle Motorsports that's coming up pretty soon. We'll share details on that later. I don't want to talk about that one with my folks in the next room. That's but
your shrimp overflowing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Lifestyle Motorsports coming to a dirt track near you. Then, of course, Crabtree came by. It's not a trip to Eldora without a visit from Crabtree and his dually with the water tank in the back. And this guy just, he filled up the water tank in the RV for free, just wants to come by and hang out and, shoot the shit and hang out and be kind to people. And he really just kind of embodies the spirit of what's best about the dirt racing community. And I don't know if he's going to hear this, but I really, really appreciate the hell out of him. And we had some good laughs. And of course, he went through all the greatest hits. There's no question about that as far as it off-color similar jokes, and again, none of those I will repeat here because again, my parents are in the next room. But yeah, a great time. Always great to see him. And then he disappeared back off into the campground. And then before you know it, it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock. It was time to head over to the racetrack. And let me just scroll through here, make sure I'm not missing anything. I didn't take a whole lot of photos because, again,
You couldn't.
if my phone was either dead on life support or not functional at all. We took it a little easier on Friday night because everyone had to get up at like 6 in the morning the next day to hit the road, you know. One thing I did forget to mention on Friday, of course, the merch haulers are all over the place there. There's a really big fan zone. All these teams and drivers bring their own merch trailers, and I really wanted to pick up a Garrett Alverson T-shirt. And I'm getting a soft nomination for Dart of the Week. I never already handed it out, but I definitely get honorable mention this week. I'm not a big autograph guy. I'll be honest with you. I don't like getting stuff autographed. I don't like asking for them. It's not something I want, you know, especially not on something I'm going to be putting on my body in a few hours once it gets cold.
Right.
And I see Garrett Alverson has a trailer, which I'm not sure if he's had at Eldora before, but he's having a good year, and I'm sure that this, you know, his profile has risen a good bit in the past 2 or 3 years. So now he's got the trailer out, and of course he's a fellow New Mexican. Got to go up there and support. Get me a long sleeve T-shirt with the Zia symbol on it, all that. And I go there and like, Garrett's up there. I was like, oh, that's cool. Say what's up, you know. Maybe we've been to the same restaurants or some shit. I don't know. Like, I pick out my T-shirt, and then he looks at me and is like, hey, what's up, man? I was like, hey, I'm from Albuquerque, man. It's good to see you, the New Mexican out here. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, that's great. You want me to sign that? And in my head, I'm like, I'd rather you didn't, but I can't say that to this guy. Yeah. And I was like, oh, hell, man, it's black. I don't know where you'd sign on here. And it's like, oh, man, I got a silver one just for this. And I was like, all right. And he signed that sumbitch right in the center of the T-shirt, right over my heart above the graphic. And I was like, and then it was going to get cold. And I was like, I'm going to have to wear this tonight. So as soon as the temperature dropped just enough, it's like, well, it's time to be a Darf. And I put my autographed Garrett Alverson T-shirt on. And that's what I was wearing when I made it on Flow Racing. So I'm your Darf of the week.
So when you mentioned to us that you had Garrett Alverson's signature on your chest.
No, not my actual chest.
Well, no, in my head, I thought that you had met him, and they were like, my heart's in Albuquerque or some bullshit, and he just signed your chest. That's what I thought in my fucking head when you told me that.
No, I got my T-shirt signed under duress, and I'm not going to tell this kid no, like, you know, go ahead, sign the thing. I washed it, it already almost came off, so we're good.
Yeah, I was going to say, the silver ink comes out very easily, so.
Gotta be honest, it looked kind of cool.
I see it in this picture that you sent us with Jordy's mom.
Yeah.
Your hair kind of covers it up.
Yeah. Oh, it's there. Yeah. But shout out to Garrett Alverson, super cool guy. You know, and again, I'm not going to deny him a chance to sign. I'm not going to say no. I can't say no. But anyway, back to Saturday. Every race was pretty killer. Of course, the inverts from the night before. I forget who spun the wheel, but I think it was Ricky, maybe? No, it was Nick Hoffman, because he was the high point man. Spun the wheel of misfortune. The invert was at 6, so all the heats got flipped, which made for some great racing to get into the show. I think in Heat 6, there was a really, really scary moment. Probably the worst wreck I've ever seen at Eldora. Let me just pull up the names of who was involved, because there was a ton of cars. I don't know if you guys saw the highlights on Flow Racing or anything like that, but this was nasty. Rusty Schlenk actually had to go, I think he went to the hospital after this one. He's fine, but he was definitely pretty banged up after it. But Jordan Kohler and I think it was Rusty Ballinger, they got sideways. I'm sorry, it was Tyler Millwood, I think. No, Jason Riggs, that's who it was. There's so many cars involved in this. But yeah, Kohler and Riggs got sideways, and the other two just kind of slid into it, and a car got completely on its side. Nobody actually flipped, but it was just a big pile of wasted metal up in turn 2, and a lengthy reg flag broke. Yeah, it was nasty.
Reminded me of Arca brakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, that's the thing. Like you can't hit the brakes exactly, you know, like you can, but like everyone was already like kind of mid corner, and everyone just like kind of slid in, and it just kept piling in and in, and every time a car would hit, like whoever was on top would get flipped further on their side. So it was a little bit of a Weber Valley situation getting those cars pulled apart.
Yeah, it looked really bad when it first happened, but then after like 2 minutes, like, everybody's fine, and just piled up.
Yeah, everyone ended up being quiet. Again, Rusty Schlenk getting a little banged up, but I think he's all right, and he should be back in the car pretty soon. But yeah, first sellout in the history of Eldora, which is crazy to hear. Depending on the number you hear, it's 22,000 or 30,000. I'm assuming pit passes factor into that, but yeah, they sold it out. You couldn't buy a pit pass. You couldn't buy a ticket. You couldn't get in, and they even opened up Eldora Ballroom outside as an overflow spot for people who were showing up, so they could at least watch the race and have a place to go if they drove a long way to get there. But I've never seen Eldora this covered up. It was insane. The lines for concessions were so long, and I think this might be my only complaint about Eldora, because my phone not working, that's not Eldora's fault, that's T-Mobile's fault. But the third concession lane they have, and Brian, I don't know if you ever went through this one, but there's two main ones on, let me paint a picture for you here. There's the covered grandstands, that's where all the concessions that Eldora runs are located. There's these little hallways that you kind of walk into and pick your stuff out of a kind of a buffet line, and you pay at the end. It's really efficient. And then there's a third one they'll open up on really busy days behind all of that, which is up against the wall, the entrance to the racetrack where you show your tickets. And there's what feels like a foot-wide hallway that you have to walk through to even get to the concession area. Least favorite place to be on earth. Like, I love Eldora. That might be my favorite place on earth, but there's nothing I'd rather do less than stand in that wood-paneled hallway. And of course, there's all the heat from the friolators coming off, like, into this little space, and yeah, it's real tough. So that's my least favorite part. And the concession lines were so long. I waited too long to get over there and get my cheese balls, my pizza burgers, and all that. So it's like, well, I gotta eat. So I just bit the bullet, and I stood in Meemaw's hallway for probably 45 minutes is what it felt like.
Jesus Christ.
And the poor lady working the credit card machine was having a hard time with that, so it was taking even longer. I was like, this is hell. But we got out of there. It was fine. Racing started. We already talked about some of the heats here. Again, great racing through and through. And then it was time for track prep and the drone show, which, you know, not really I don't care about drone shows all that much, although they are pretty cool. And the drone show started, and I looked up and I realized, oh yeah, I'm sitting directly behind the light pole, and I can't see this thing at all. I think that's one of the only texts I was able to fire off all night.
The only picture we got from you all weekend.
Sick view.
Hiding your drone show.
Not only that, but just like the track light above it, just completely washing it out. And I was like, well, this sucks. So I watched Tony Stewart ride around on his four-wheeler, and it was good. But yeah, Nick Hoffman starting the feature on the pole. Everyone loved to see that. I was super excited about that. But it very quickly became Jonathan Davenport's to lose. He led about the first 35 laps, a few cautions here and there. Eventually, Ricky Thornton Jr. got under him and was able to sort of drive away. And it looked like it was difficult to give Ricky Thornton the check that early, because you just know how good Jonathan Davenport is at this place. Not to mention Dale McDowell coming all the way from the tail of the field, slowly and methodically working his way up to about 5th at one point. And you're like, man, this guy's actually, he might have a shot at this thing. Jonathan Davenport has a tire go down as he's battling with Ricky Thornton. And that kind of hands it to JD. So Ricky Thornton. And the place was, some people were pissed about it. People love Jonathan Davenport. But I was overjoyed that JD was not going to win this race. Even though it would have been history making, I wanted to see somebody else get it. Also, Bobby Pierce having a really bad weekend. Just never really got a good shake in the heats. I think he was a victim of the Wheel of Misfortune as well. Started further back in his heat and was unable to just get anything going. Had to race his way in the LCQ and started DFL right next to Garrett Alberson. And I think he made his way into the top 10, but he was never a threat, which I think a lot of people were surprised about. And honestly, on the flip side, Ricky Thornton Jr., who ended up winning the race, I don't think anyone really had him as being the winner just based on his record at Eldora. It hasn't been that great, but he did win the Baltus Classic. He's got a brand new Longhorn that seems to be really well suited to Eldora, and he whooped some ass that night.
Definitely remember you in the septic tank last week saying that there's no way Ricky Thornton was going to win this weekend because he sucks.
Yeah, he's not great at Eldora, but that seems to have changed with this car. So, and he the only other guy of the weekend to win a feature of any kind was Ricky Thornton at the Baltus Classic. So I definitely had to eat my words on that one. I'm a big Ricky Thornton fan. I was excited to see that.
Yeah.
But it certainly wasn't something I thought I was going to see. Also, Nick Hoffman had a good car. Fell back a little bit and definitely wasn't as fast as everybody else, but had a hot rod for sure. And I think he finished in 5th or 6th, something like that, after kind of getting into it with Chris Madden, who had some not so nice things to say about Nick Hoffman. So fuck Chris Madden. My dislike of him, which really blossomed after the World Finals, has further blossomed. It's full bloom now, folks. I'm not a Chris Madden fan.
Blooming onion.
Yeah. The shrimp tree has bloomed, and I'm certainly
sprouted.
Yeah, fuck that guy. But
Shrimp tree sounds great.
Yeah, doesn't it? But yeah, Ricky Thornton Jr. picking up a big win. It was a great feature. It's dusty, but that's Eldora. That's Ohio. That's a lot of dirt tracks. So, but the racing was great. So I don't think I have anything to really complain about it. I feel like I'm missing some details here for sure. If you guys are watching from home, you have anything you want to add, please do. Because this is all off the top of my dome here. I did not make notes. So.
I mean, you pretty much covered it. I mean, I watched the whole thing, and yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I can't say I'm bummed that I missed a Ricky Thornton win because I'm not a fan of his. So, bummed. I probably would have pulled him in the fucking pool though, and took your money again.
We didn't have a pool this year, actually.
Well,
we sat
I
around
ruined it for everybody.
We sat around in the campground trying to come up with how we were going to do it, but we couldn't figure out how to do it. Kenny had this idea that we should pick who was going to come in last. And that turned into a whole thing. I was, well, how do you do that when you don't know who's making the show? I was like, you don't know who's making the show anyway. And so it was just 30 minutes of trying to discuss this, and we ended up with no plan whatsoever and no money exchanged hands. Also, shout out to Tyler Erb, which I forgot to put this in the notes, but he came away with 3rd place. I think that was a little bit of a surprise. He was always kind of on the fringe. Had a fast car for sure, but there's a little question of whether or not he'd be able to make it in the show, but he firmly planted himself in there and ended up with a 3rd place, so great for Tyler. But on the Best Performance Motorsports social media, I'm just going to read this post because it's insane that they did this. Not only does the graphic refer to this as the Dream, but the text they wrote, which of course the Dream is a race at Eldora, but not the one we were all at. Pinch us. They finished 4th. Not 3rd. Pinch us. Finishing 4th at the Dream is a dream in itself. And that's probably why they fucked up, is because they wanted to use that little chestnut right there in the post. Yeah. And then it says, Eldora Speedway Dream 100 weekend, which is not, that's not a race. Yeah, and they posted the hell out of that, so good for them.
Bless their heart.
Yeah, one too many Marlboros. But yeah, it was awesome weekend. Trying to think if there's anything else that's worth mentioning from the feature other than just generally being a great show. I don't think so, but I'll think of it when we're done. If you were at the World 100 and you get a chance to link up with you, sorry about that. Again, top of my phone, it didn't work. I think there was probably a couple folks who wanted to come say hi, but we never would have found each other, so it's okay. We'll do it again next time. But after the race wrapped up, pretty mellow, just a mass exodus of 20,000 people coming off the property back to their campers onto the highway. Eldora does have a pretty good traffic plan, so it seems like people got out kind of quick, but I'm not 100% sure on that. This is also where I racked up my golf cart ride of the weekend, because it's a weekend at Eldora is not complete without cheese balls and almost getting flung off a golf cart, and that is what happened on my way back. Sorry, I cut you off, Brian. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, last year I got out pretty fast. I mean, granted, I was by myself and I had a pretty good parking spot, but it didn't take me long to get out of there last year.
Yeah, it's they got it figured out now, and there's only certain ways you can turn from certain parking lots, and again, it's farm road, so if you can figure out where the St. Henry nightclub is, you can figure out how to get back to the highway from there. But anyway, we made it back to the campground, and somebody got the idea to have a fire, so one of our buddies went off and tried to find wood, which they was great success. They found a bundle of wood from somebody, and we lit too big of a fire for 1 a.m. And
Tony Stewart came and yelled at you.
No, the cops were out in the campground, but they couldn't care less about us. There was a party next to us that magically shut down right as the police showed up, so I don't know if there was a reason for that, but they dispersed pretty quickly. And then it was just us sitting next to this big, very hot blue flame fire.
Sweating.
Yeah. Which eventually I was going to let it burn out, but my rental car was parked way too close to it, and I was like, this can't be. I'm not dying in my rental car. So I found whatever half-drunk beverages I had sitting around, like a half a beer, a Dr. Pepper, and just did my best to settle the fire down a little bit, and which we did. And then it was off to Dayton the next morning, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I will say that one last little story here. I stopped off to get a beer and a salad at the airport before I flew out, and every single person in there was a dirt racing fan or a team member or something. It was just like an airport bar packed full of late model folks, so that's never happened before. And they were playing Kurt Vile on the speakers too, which was like this very oddly specific to me situation. So yeah. But yeah, it was a great weekend. Like I said, Brian, we missed you there. It was great. Again, not a lot of crazy stories or anything like that, but just through and through, the vibe and the feeling of it was as it always is at Eldora. There's definitely something special about that place, and I think saying that out loud almost carries a certain that doesn't mean anything because it's just a catchphrase now. But it really is true. Like, you can feel something when you're there, and I don't know what it is, but I'm addicted to it, and I can't wait to go back there next year. It's definitely appointment viewing for me, and I can't wait to go back. And again, shout out to Kim Bob, shout out to Crabtree, shout out to everybody for the hospitality. Shout out to Ricky, and yeah. And shout out to Kyle Armstrong for, oh, by the way, he made a big ice block in his hotel room again, so I was excited to see that ripping. But yeah, I've probably missed about 80% of the details I can share, but that was essentially my World 100 weekend in a nutshell. I can't stress this enough. If you haven't gone, just go. Just do it. Just go. It's not that hard to get to. Just go. Please. Do it. That's it. I guess there's a little bit of septic tank left here. I thought we were done, but I guess we're not. Tusky 50 was at Port Royal. Of course, that is a crown jewel event. And little Ryan Timms picked up another giant win. This kid is just a slut for winning those big-ass sprint car races. That's 3 shrimp right there. I'm going to go ahead and mark that down. We're definitely at the 20 mark now. But, yeah, Ryan Timms picking up a big win there and showing that it's not just the focus he's put on Knoxville. They've got that program figured out, and it's hard to go to Port Royal and win, so shout out to him. To loop back to NASCAR a little bit, some modified shoes are getting a shot on not the biggest stage, but certainly a pretty big stage in the truck series. Mike Christopher Jr. and Patrick Emmerling are going to have some pretty nice little hot rods for the truck race coming up here at Loudon, with Emmerling in particular taking another ride for Spire. Very excited about that. Of course, Mike Christopher Jr., son of Mike Christopher Sr. That's pretty obvious, but if you don't know who that is, I think I mentioned this last week, that's Ted Christopher's brother. Of course, Teddy Christopher is an absolute monolith in the sport of modified racing and in pavement racing in general. So it's cool to see that generational thing happening here, and Mikey can fucking drive too, so I'm excited to see what he can do in a truck. I forget who it's with, but we'll talk about it again a little closer to Loudon, which I guess is 2 weeks from now. Also,
Sneaking up.
before we shut the septic tank down, I don't know if anyone remembers me talking about this earlier, but of course on Twitter there's a guy named Racing Jason. He is America's #1 source for late-breaking, super late model news, if you can understand what he's saying. Essentially, this guy will have these press conferences on here. Emergency press conferences is what he calls them, where he's just blackout drunk and smoking cigs and oh, man, you'll see. Man, what I know, it's going to be crazy. And that's pretty much it. He never really says much of anything. But his Twitter account is awesome. And he has this, he kept bringing up the girl from work for a long time. And I don't know if they had a thing going on or whatever, but, it was maybe a work-wife situation. I'm not really sure what it was. But anyway, today it seems like we got an update here. This is obviously the biggest news of the day. Racing Jason posted what I assume is going to be the final update from this saga. He says, let's see if I got this right. The girl from the old job, so he doesn't work there anymore, so that probably didn't help matters. The girl from the old job isn't speaking to me anymore because I didn't go over to her house late yesterday evening to help her bury a dog. That wasn't mine. Really? Okay, got it. He goes on to say, yeah, I hate it. I honestly do, but as much as I love animals, really, bro? Am I the bad guy because I didn't bury a dog that died the day before?
Wow.
Yeah,
the internet is free for everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we can put a pin in that whole saga there. Sometimes it just doesn't work out for the best. But to be honest with you, if you're
on Twitter right now,
if you're trying to woo a woman and she wants you to go bury a dog, just go bury the dog.
Bury that fucking
Bury that dog. And with that, I guess that's our short track septic tank. Although the video of the week is directly tied into this, so I think we can probably keep the door open here. But,
Is him the Red Clay Rebel?
That's him. You can buy merch if you're interested.
Yeah.
Which I'm not particularly, but yeah. You can catch Racing Jason at a Twin Peaks near you.
Okay, well, I'm one tweet in, I'm like, no, I'm not following this.
Yeah, but speaking of races that Jason might have been at, I don't know if he was or not, but this video of the week, or these videos of the week, are very, very cool. And Brian, why don't you tell us about them?
Oh yeah, I forgot we had that segment too.
Yeah, we do have a couple of videos of the week. So yeah, I picked a couple videos from when late models ran at Bristol. These was about 25 years ago.
Yeah, way back in the day.
There's two of them, and they kind of blend together, and I'll say this. For any fans out there that, for whatever reason, aren't into all these tracks streaming their races now and like Flow Racing and Dirt Vision and stuff, like, I don't think you guys know how good you have it, because
100%.
Like, it's such a bummer. I can go back and watch a Busch race from 1984 on YouTube, and it'll be off the TV and pretty watchable. Whereas these races, even though they're only 25 years ago, feel like they're from like the 70s, just because like they're shot so poorly and there's nobody there actually professionally filming these things.
Yeah, which one are we talking about first? The actual broadcast or the fan cam?
No, we'll talk about the fan cam one first, because honestly, they're almost one and the same. It's so weird. The first one was titled. I gotta pull up the title here. Let's see, Bristol Motor Speedway. Bristol Motor Speedway Hava-Tampa late models trip, June 2000. And this, we don't really have any sort of exposition as to who these people are. And I would say that the bummer of this video is really there's not enough narration. Like, there's none really at all. Like, we hear a couple peeps from a Mima of sorts throughout the video. The wife, I guess, but
future Mima.
Future Mima, for sure.
Unlike the infamous modified video we watched a while ago, I wish there was more storytelling going on here. The video itself.
We have watched a video from the same guy before on the show at West Virginia Motor Speedway.
Yeah. It's basically these folks showing up to the track, and they're kind of getting the lay of the land. They're walking around and, seeing all the cars parked and just the massiveness that is Bristol. Because, Bristol is, if you've never been there, it is pretty wild to see in real life.
Steps in, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. They show, it looks like there's somewhere between 80 and 100 cars entered at this race, and admittedly, I as someone who's only really gotten into dirt late models the last few years, a lot of these cars I don't recognize. There's obviously Bloomquist and Freddie Smith, and I saw Jack Hewitt in there, and Rick Eckert, and that was about it. I'm sure there's more known guys in there that I just don't recognize the cars as well. But I'm sure
Donnie Moran was out there, Chubb Frank.
Yeah, Donnie Moran, yeah.
Which, by the way, I was able to buy a Chubb Frank shirt this weekend, a brand new one. He's still selling merch out there. But yeah, this is kind of a who's who. Terry English was out there. Dennis Erb Jr., of course. That's actually the one thing I wanted to mention. That guy put on a show at Eldora this weekend. Probably the move of the weekend was this three-wide middle pass he made into one, and that put him in the lead for one of the heats. But yeah, Dennis is an old-timer for sure these days. He's been around a long time, and he was in this race. But yeah, I think actually I want to verify this real quick. There was a Mark Martin in this race, but it was not the same Mark Martin that you think it is. So I just want to put that out there.
Now, the video itself, it's just a lot of shots of what's going on in the track. They're showing hot laps, and somebody's car goes up in smoke. And another thing, I already mentioned how, this video feels like it was 40 years old, but really wasn't. There was a massive disparity between some of these cars. You see somebody like Bloomquist or Freddie Smith, and their car looks very modern. And then you see a bunch of these other cars that look like they were built in 1987, and they just never updated them. Yeah. That was pretty wild to see. I thought watching this that this race was held before the tunnels in Bristol were built, but then I also realized that the tunnels at Bristol are only for pedestrians. There's there's nothing to drive underneath, so it's like, Jesus, it must have been a pain in the ass to get those cars in and out of the track. So that was interesting. A lot of just establishing shots, both the crowd and all the cars. We see the aftermath of one of the cars wrecking in one of the heat races, it seems like. When night one, when night comes and, they switch to racing at night, the camera they were using, whatever color filter, was just not working at all, because once the lights went out and it was just a track, everything was red, just completely red.
Yeah.
But they really don't show any racing or anything. They kind of just show an establishing shot, and then that's it. The next day, the video, cuts to the next morning, and they're checking out Rick Eckert's car at an Arby's down the street from the track. Yeah. And the only thing you catch from the wife is she's lamenting the fact that she couldn't get a rocket chassis sticker, which I thought that was kind of funny. And then there's also just a bunch of guys awkwardly standing around the car in a circle.
Such a tradition.
Yeah, sounds about right. They show they cut to the drivers or the crews loading their pit carts onto the track very gingerly down this steep dirt embankment to get into the infield. There's a shot of some IMCA modifieds on the track, and then they show Bloomer's car, and it sounds like half the crowd's booing him. Yep. And they just show his qualifying run, and that's the end of the video. Really, I just wanted more from these people. I wanted more as far as and it's anytime I see any fan cam video of any race. Like, I want to know, I want to hear from the people, I want to hear from the fans, I want to see more of what's going on, not just on the track. So
yeah, for sure,
it was cool, but you know, I wanted a bit more out of this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Just it's kind of a vibe thing, you know, like getting to see this through like a more human lens, especially with what we're about to talk about with this next video. That's the quality of broadcast available for races now. It's kind of neat to see this this racing at that time, and it does feel kind of timeless because, again, like you said, the cars didn't change a ton from the 80s till then, at least visually speaking. And then the broadcasts weren't all that great. So like this is some of the only footage you're probably going to see outside of those kind of one camera pay-per-view VHS deals. And just the enormity of this event and who didn't make the show as well, which, by the way, Dale McDowell ended up winning this race, even though he loves coming in second, but in those days he'd win a lot more. I think that was the thing I forgot to say was Dale McDowell came in second and everyone was expecting to see him maybe get to Ricky, but it just didn't work out. But anyway, he was there. He won this race. I mean, fucking Don O'Neill was in this race, or he didn't make the show. Bob Pierce, you know, just like a who's who of late model racing was here. And it's just kind of neat to see it in this perspective, you know, 3,000 miles up in the grandstands at Bristol.
Yeah. The second video is, I believe it's the same race, just, you know, a year later. This was a $10,000 to win feature event. And this was a video that I don't know how exactly it was released, but it seems like it was somewhat of a production. You know, there was a name and people who produced this, and a couple times throughout the video there's a warning that flashes up like for internet use only, which I thought was really weird.
Yeah, it said Speedway videos, Richard and Tammy, so I thought it was like a husband and wife duo that's
just filming bootlegs of races basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, really, honestly, the quality of the video is not much different than the previous one. I mean, it's a little bit better. They have a slightly better camera that, you know, the colors stay how they should throughout the whole thing. Yeah. But it is literally just these people filming this race from the grandstands. Like, there's no you know, feed of the announce booth, nothing on the track. It is literally just people filming from the grandstands.
Yeah, you're definitely waiting for like the track PA to come in, you know, that kind of shit, and then it never shows up.
Yeah, nothing at all.
No information provided.
You know, much like, you know, the other video, there was only a handful of cars I recognized. Obviously, you know, Bloomquist, Freddie Smith, the Flintstone Flyer car, which he was driving that at that point.
I don't remember.
I don't know. You know, Donnie Moran. That was, you know, a couple other cars, but yeah, again, I don't totally know all these people, but in saying that, you know, throughout this feature, it's really Freddie Smith leading pretty much the whole thing.
Yep.
You know, at one point, there's only one caution that I think I noticed. The Flintstone Flyer car came to a stop on the outside wall. I was a little, you know, I guess I didn't really know what to expect as far as the racing groove was concerned, but like they started off low and everybody kind of slowly creeped up the top of the track, but because this is Bristol and it was so high banked, like there's never like a cushion like you see at most other dirt tracks. Like people weren't running up as high as they could. Like, you know, they moved up the banking, but you know, they never really ran the real top of the track.
It wasn't,
so that was
Mike Duvall.
interesting.
It was probably Mike Duvall.
Maybe, yeah.
I think it was Mike Duvall. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it, because fuck if I know. But yeah, you know, again, it's people filming this from the grandstands. You know, it because they're filming the grandstands. Once it gets dusty, you know, vision doesn't, you know, kind of gets worse and a little bit blurry. Towards the end of the race, it's so weird. Like that little warning pops up again, and they're pretty much stuck on turn 4 as the cars are coming around, and you couldn't even tell what lap it was, but it was the last fucking lap, and then you see all these cars coming out of 4, and then all of a sudden you see Bloomquist passing Freddie Smith on the outside, and that's the end of the race. Like, just, you know, for something people paid for.
Rewind it. I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck happened? Because, yeah, I mean, you know, Bloomer, you know, the shots of him, you know, he seemed to kind of have a little bit of a cleaner line through the turns. Like, he wasn't really drifting as much as Freddie Smith was, and he was kind of slowly picking up his line and moving up the track and catching up to Freddie a little bit. But he passed him on the outside in the last turn, and that was the end of the race. And
I don't know if Richard or Tammy was filming that day, but they were filming the wrong battle there at the end. So.
Yeah, for sure. We get Bloomquist's interview, but you can barely make out what he's saying, and that was pretty much it. So, at least as far as seeing what happened on the track, you got a decent enough picture of that. But again, it's such a bummer that you can't go back and see a lot of these old classic races in ways that are actually entertaining and informative to watch. Like, a lot of the old videos, it's just stuff like this. So just be thankful we got Flo and Dirt Vision and whoever else now, because now the broadcasts are actually worth watching. So these are fun, but again, not necessarily the best quality. But what did you all think?
I loved them. Again, there's not a lot of footage of this stuff. I mean, the Have a Tampa series was, I don't know if this is an apt comparison necessarily, but to me, it's kind of like the Winston Cup era of super late model racing. Mm-hmm. And, so many stars are still there, there's some guys still running out there like Dale McDowell and Dennis Erb, but this is like the best of the best, and the legends all running out there with who were the kind of new dogs at the time, like Erb and all them. And I just wish there was more. So for me to see anything of this era is a real treat, because a lot of this stuff is committed to VHS tapes in somebody's basement, or behind this is probably no paywall because these people probably haven't got it on the internet. But yeah, just to piggyback off what you're saying, we're so blessed to have the technology we have now. There's never been a better time to be a dirt racing fan or a racing fan in general from that perspective, because you can actually watch this stuff. Even some of the shittiest racetracks in the country have a streaming option that you can see what's going on a Friday or a Saturday night. So we have it really good. So anytime you're sitting there complaining about Flo, which by the way, I guess the broadcast did go off on Saturday night. I had to bump that to YouTube, probably because everyone was on the track Wi-Fi trying to upload their selfies to Snapchat. But we've got it made, folks. So shut up. Shut up. Don't complain, because you could be watching fucking Linda and Gary's Steadicam.
I definitely just wanted more of that fan cam. I wanted more of that wife reading off random words out loud that she would see.
Such a mom thing to do.
Yeah. It was just a neat perspective, especially having been to modern Bristol dirt, and then to kind of take this step back in time and see why they originally covered it in dirt back in the day. So.
Yeah, there was a similar deal back in those days. Obviously, Cup didn't run on it, but they do a bunch of shit for that. Like the World Outlaws were there, I think, the week after in those years, and just a bunch of UMP mods or whatever. There was a lot of stuff going on. So that's always my favorite part of Bristol Dirt, is getting to see those cars rip around. And I was kind of sad when NASCAR stopped doing that, but I was more sad when the promoters for the short track stuff stopped doing it, because without that, it's probably not as much of a financial windfall for the track to truck in all that dirt. So I don't know. I'd love to see him do it again. I'll say that. Maybe not the Cup cars, but hopefully someday in the future they'll do it at Bristol again.
Yeah. Cool. Well, so video of the week this week. So I mentioned, Dan RUNTE before, and this was going to be, and I guess technically it can be part of the history of the Monster Truck Racing series, but we're jumping ahead here a bit. So we're not there, at least if you've been following along, we're still in 1990, I want to say, as far as the timeline of where racing was then. Mm-hmm. But from my perspective, as someone who lived this stuff and was at least watching monster trucks for the beginning of Dan Runte's career. By the mid-'90s, it was very clear that monster trucks were a thing that were primarily marketed towards kids. I mean, it started out trying to be a legitimate motorsport. They kind of came to realize that it wasn't ever really going to be that, even though there were always people trying to do racing series and things like that. And eventually you get shows like Monster Wars, which had cartoon vignettes with guys basically dressed up in wrestling attire and cutting promos as monster truck drivers and shit like that. And that was kind of lame. It's funny to watch now, but if you were an older monster truck fan watching this, I can see wanting to tune out. So in 2000, Monster Jam was already a thing, and a few different series were running at this point. Someone decided to make a monster truck show with an adult-themed storyline, and this is regarded in the monster truck community as the worst monster truck show of all time. It is a show called it's a show called Monster Trucks 2000: The New Thrillennium, and
like a soap, monster truck.
Kind of. Yes. If you look up the worst monster truck show ever on YouTube, both this actual broadcast will pop up, and there's another 12-minute synopsis video by a channel called Monster Talk, which kind of gives you the brief rundown as to why it was so bad and the highlights. But we're going to watch the whole fucking thing. So, Monster Trucks 2000, The New Thrillennium, in tribute to Dan Runte, who was the star of the show. That'll be on the playlist for next week.
Nice.
So, but with that, NASCAR's in Bristol this weekend.
Yep.
All 4 series will be there. And the big talk is tires yet again. Goodyear created a tire that apparently when they tested it, shredded immediately in their testing machine. And it's supposed to be in the 50s on Saturday night in Bristol. So
Perfect.
Will we see finally see another actual, repeat of spring last year? Maybe. Who knows? But I'm definitely excited, and I hope it's better than last year's race. So, I think Thursday, tomorrow, it's a doubleheader with 2 different ARCA with Cletus making his short track debut.
Well, that'll be fun.
The Truck Series. And then, Xfinity Friday and Cup on Saturday night. So that's what I'll be doing the next few nights.
Nice. Also tomorrow, or on Thursday night, rather, the Flow Racing Night in America series at Bulls Gap. That's the Scott Bloomquist Memorial Race. So that's right. Never forget. And then High Limits at Lernerville this weekend. And then there's also some World of Outlaws late model shows. So plenty of short track racing on your TVs as well. So get your laptops and your tablets and your whatever else you watch stuff on lined up, and a nice big old case of cold beer, and enjoy yourself whatever it is you enjoy out of all those things we just mentioned. I'm excited for Bristol. Hopefully it's a good show.
Yeah, I'm really bummed I'm not going to be there. I have been planning on going for a while and had a couple different plans kind of floating around, and they just kind of all fell apart. So I'm just going to skip out this year and save up my Coors Light intake for Martinsville and World Finals. But Andy Newsom will be there, so if you're going to be at Bristol, look for him.
Look for a Danny Hamlin win.
Yeah.
Was he at Gateway? Did he make his way out there and not tell us?
No, he was not at Gateway.
Yeah.
He was watching that Amish wrestling.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, man.
Cool. So that's the weekend. As always, you can follow us on Instagram at meetmeatapplebees, on Twitter at meetmeatabees. I am Speedway Screens on all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the shop, and MMA Applebees at checkout for 15% off.
Still Snake Mountain True Love. I've tasked myself recently with clearing out my camera roll from the past year. Because my phones keep screaming at me that my storage is full.
That thing is hot to the touch.
I'm pretty fucking sick of it. So I'm gonna get back to posting some bullshit from a year ago.
Hell yeah.
Feed. So, yeah.
Well,
A little fun task. I was also reminded that we have a YouTube channel. My boyfriend wanted me to remind y'all that we do have YouTube.
it's true. Yeah, every podcast episode does upload to the YouTube channel, and all the video of the week stuff is on there as well.
It's funny. When I saw Buddy at Darlington, he was like, "How can you see that? Like, how can you see your video week playlist?" And I was like, "We got a YouTube channel. We got a link tree. All that shit's in there, man." Like,
Yeah. We'll figure out how to do this at some point. Rob Boats _unofficial on Instagram. My band's called These Wild Plains. It's just, did we ever establish why I was eating so much shrimp? Or that's just kind of like...
I mean, you went to the buffet, right?
I did, yeah. I can't remember like what actually made the show and what didn't. I went to Golden Corral last night and I ate a lot of shrimp, so that's what all that's about.
We might have talked about that before we started recording.
Yeah, so people are gonna be very confused if they don't make it to the end of this episode. But,
What's your shrimp jar looking like?
oh, it's everywhere. It's way overflowed here. Yeah, I kind of gave up on. I think my parents are gone to sleep now, so I think I can cut loose a little bit. But yeah, again, thank you to everyone who made this weekend at Eldora so special. Again, Brian, hate that you couldn't be there. True Love, also hate that you couldn't be there. You got to see this place at some point. You put it on your bucket list. It's
You tell Tony to fix that sign and all.
yeah, that's what's keeping you from going. But yeah, seriously, everyone who either offered a beer or a place to park the car or a seat or anything at all, just thank you so much. Continue to remind me why I love the short track community as much as I do, and Eldora in particular. It's a special place, so just go, folks, please.
Yep, I agree. Cool. Well, with that, looks like the check is here. So thanks for joining us again at Applebee's, and we'll talk to y'all next week.